I think the biggest thing that I want to share with each of you is our focus, and this is what I shared with your sons and daughters. Our focus, number one, is making sure this is the best year possible for them in terms of making it as normal as possible so that they get that freshman experience, they get back into the routine of high school, and they have those fun experiences. So one of the things that I'm going to talk about on opening day with our teachers and staff is that permission. The permission that our focus is relationships, making sure kids feel connected to the school, connected to each other after being separated. We'll have some students who are coming into school for the first time in a year and a half, and really being focused on that social emotional aspect. I really want you to leave here knowing that, and that's what I tried to emphasize with our students. They're coming to a place that cares about them and that's going to take care of them. I could talk for hours about academics, believe me, I could. And if you want me to, I can. All the different diplomas, all the different tracks, we could go through that. But as a parent myself, I think the biggest thing that I was concerned about, and I want to know, is my daughter's teachers care about her, and that we're going to take care of all of our students. And that's what I want to emphasize. And hopefully you walk away here tonight with that understanding of how important that is to us. So our agenda for tonight, I will promise to be quick. I actually am going on a little bit, but promise to finish up soon. I'm going to introduce your assistant principal for 9th grade, Ms. Shaw. We are very fortunate to have Ms. Swan here, our new superintendent, which is awesome, doing an awesome job for us. She's going to introduce herself and say a few words. And then we're going to get into what your son and daughters experienced today through orientation. Hopefully, I know it's hard sometimes when kids come home and you ask how was it, and they say, or, they don't give you a firm answer. I'm hoping that your son or daughter had a good time. We tried to make sure there's a lot of positive energy. Our seniors, juniors, and sophomores who are here, were assisting, did an awesome job of keeping that excitement going, making sure the kids felt welcome. And again, there's always going to be some, anxiousness. I think that is normal. But if you could just, again, reinforce with your son or daughter, we are going to take care of them. They're going to have a very, very successful transition to the high school. We're then going to hear from Mr. Fitch. I'll introduce him. Just does a great job, and he spoke to our incoming 9th graders today. And then we have our school nurse. We have 2 wonderful nurses. Ms. White is here. She is the school nurse for 9th and 11th grade, so she'll quickly introduce herself. And our counselors for 10th grade. And then we'll also talk about other supports with Ms. Hassel and Ms. Zabke. And again, I wanted to start off with this. Typically, I try to be a dynamic speaker where I'm moving around and in the crowd, asking people for their opinions, holding out the mic. No, just joking. Can't tonight. We're doing a webinar so that we have, what are we at for? About 50 people? Great. So we have 50 other freshman parents that are watching us. So that's why I'm kind of sitting here at the podium. So I apologize for the formality, but for the webinar option, that's just what we have to do for tonight. So at this point, I do want to, actually, I went out of order a little bit. I'm going to have Ms. Shaw coming up after Ms. Swan. So I'm going to invite Ms. Swan to come on up and say a few words.
Hey everyone, how are you? I'm Kristen Swan. I had the pleasure of meeting some of you as just coming in and went on a tour with you. I'd like to welcome you tonight. I'd like to welcome the people who are with us via the webinar. I had the opportunity to meet some of your children this morning, and I was sharing with some of the parents. What really resonated with me was this very humanistic experience, and children telling me they were excited, they were nervous. Almost everyone, Sean said, I don't know how to get around. And I said, don't worry, you will know probably in a week to 10 days. And I was sharing with some of the parents, ironically enough, I also welcomed 32 new teachers earlier in the week. And they too were just like the children, nervous, excited. They were hoping that the kids liked them. The kids are hoping that the teachers like them. And I said to my husband the other night, we just need to get our doors open and bring kids back to school and get started. I'm thrilled that you're here. I wish the children the best of luck in high school. I will share with you that this morning, Sean said something to the children that I am absolutely committed to and aligned with. And he shared with your children that we are here to serve them. And as parents, I want you to know we are here to serve you. If ever there is a time that you are experiencing difficulty, have a question, need to reach out personally, please email me. I know the wonderful administration here will take good care of you, but we are here to serve you, and we are really looking forward to having your children. Thank you for sharing them with us. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you, Kristen. And then before, Michelle, Erin, where are you? Okay. Well, I was going to tell you to hold on one more minute. I will get to you, I promise. And Ms. Kurisitz, I do apologize. I just wanted to finish with this for my part. And again, talked about it a little bit right at the intro, but what our goals are for your students when we think about the 21-22 school year. And again, for us as a staff, it's recognizing, and I love this analogy, that we've all been in a storm, the same storm, for the last year and a half, and we're still in that storm, but we're all in different boats, and we've all experienced it differently. And being aware of that as we interact with our students and as we interact with each other. So again, that's going to be a constant theme that we're talking about as a staff of how to support students as they transition back. There's some students that weathered the storm. I would say for my daughter, she, in my opinion, was in a battleship. There was not a lot of suffering there that she had to go through other than, which is important, the social piece, but she was able to connect with kids. There's other kids that we know have very, very challenging situations. And again, being cognizant of that, supporting them, and then as we do that, we can focus on the academics and get them to where they need to be. My goal as well, every single student is going to graduate. That's going to look different. Some may have a Regents diploma, some may have advanced, some may have an IEP diploma, but everybody's going to leave the high school with a clear path on what they want to do after high school, or the options to pursue what they want to do when they figure it out. Because I know not all of us, sometimes some of my friends in their 50s still don't know what they want to do. So, but they have options. And so that's a big goal for us. And then finally, I keep going back to this. And I told the kiddos this morning, before they know it, because I've been through 17 graduating classes, I don't mean to get parents upset because it goes by so quick, but before they know it, they're going to be walking across the stage for graduation. And I want to make sure that when they look back, that they can smile about Spencerport and say, I had some really great memories while here. The neat piece is we just hired one of our math teachers, graduated from here 7 or 8 years ago. And then we have at least 7 other teachers that graduated from Spencerport and now live in the community and raise their family here. And so again, I really want that focus on making connections, having pride in Spencerport, and then just having a great experience with us. And I promise, the last thing, Spencerport, I am very proud of. But what I tell kids and I tell everyone is we are not perfect by any stretch. And so as Ms. Swan said, we are very open to feedback. So we always want to get better. Never hesitate, ever, to reach out to me. I had some wonderful parents calling me today saying, I'm so sorry to bother you, Mr. McKidd. You are not bothering me. That makes my day. It really does. I like interacting with our parents and our students. So any feedback, always be sure to give it to us. So at this point, now it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Kurisitz, who's our 10th grade administrator, and Miss Erin Shaw, who's our 9th grade administrator. Come on up, ladies.
I'm the 9th grade assistant principal, and I'll just give you a little background about myself before I turn it over to Mr. Sept. I'm coming here from Rush Henrietta, where I spent 20 years. I was a math teacher and an instructional coach, and then last year I spent time as the assistant principal for the 11th grade there. And I'm really excited to be here. I've been here for a month now, and it's been one of the most welcoming places. The administrative team is fantastic. The teachers, the counselors, everyone has been very welcoming. You know, it's hard to change, not a career, but move a different path after 20 years. So it's been just a wonderful place to be. Everyone is supportive, and your kids are gonna have a fantastic time here. We had a great time this morning. It was nice to meet everyone, see their faces, put faces to the names that I've been kind of stalking through Infinite Campus the past couple of weeks. So it was great. I hope they had fun today. Mr. McCabe puts out, our email, phone on all of his Ranger updates, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me if there is something that you need.
My first time in front of a microphone. This is exciting. So I'm Miss Persons or Miss K. I might have had some of your older students in class, and actually this is my 5th year here. Prior to this new position, I am or was a reading specialist in this building, so I've been here, this will be my 5th year. So, and I worked with one of your older students, whether it was in a reading classroom or 9th or 10th grade English. So I'm really excited to be in this new role. I like to say I'm in anything that's fun related. That is my position as the coordinator of student and family engagement. So any sort of club or activity, freshman orientation today, for example, was something that I helped coordinate with Mrs. Sullivan and the other administrators. And if you saw any of the newest senior parking spots, we were able to get that done, which I'm really excited about as a new tradition here at Spencer Court. So anything fun, that's me. I'm also in charge of the 10th grade class as well. So like Ms. Shaw said, I'm really excited to be working with your son or daughter this year. And if you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out. And so I'm going to carry on kind of with what we did today with your son or daughter. So this was our student leaders. So this is something too that your freshmen can look forward to. We met with our student leaders, I think it was about a week ago, to get them prepared to help them lead really this freshman orientation. So you can see that we had about 50 student leaders, upperclassmen, come in on their own time to prepare for the freshman orientation today. So you can see some of them in that picture. And what we did is we went through the different slides that they showed your son or daughter today, and they were really the ones, like I said, that ran it. So that's something that hopefully your children as freshmen can look forward to as they move throughout their school years. That's something that we're really pushing here and have pushed at Spencer Court, is students taking ownership within this school building. And I was blown away by how amazing that these students did with the freshman orientation. So I was excited to see all of them in the building as well. Then for today, Michelle, do you want to take over with this? We're going to kind of tag team this right now. So Michelle's going to kind of go through how our day started.
So this morning as we came in, they all went to the gym and found all their groups that they were going to participate in today. And it's really just nice to see all of them together once again. It felt a little normal even when we had our masks on. But it just gave them a chance to kind of reconnect with their friends and be back in school and feel really good about that. And from there, we went into the classrooms where these student leaders went over all the clubs and activities that you can be involved in. And so they took them through some PowerPoints. We did some circles with them so that students could get to know each other a little bit and get the talking going. So it's not just a room of 20 silent freshmen in there, because that's fun. But we did that. And again, this was all led by these student leaders. They put these PowerPoints together. They, looked at these clubs and activities so that they knew what they were, talking about when they went in there to work with the kids this morning. Okay.
Sure. So this is also another tradition that I'm sure many of you have heard of before, is the handprint activity, where the students really get to leave their long-lasting imprint here at the high school. So this was one of the activities when they were finished with their PowerPoints in the classroom. The student leaders took them down to place their handprints on the wall. So I just think that this is something that's really exciting. You can see the Ranger Bears, some of them, they're looking super excited as well to be here. Again, this is just another activity that they got to participate in. I was also excited too that we were able to bring in some of our sophomores from last year who were not able to participate in this. We were able to bring them in this morning or this afternoon as well. If they couldn't come today, don't worry, there's going to be another opportunity throughout the school year to help some of those students get their handprints on the wall, as well as students who maybe have moved into the district or hoping to get their handprints as like a long-lasting thing on the school walls as well. So that was one of the activities that they partook in this morning. And then one of the other activities, which wasn't sure how this was going to go in a cafeteria with a bunch of freshmen, but I was blown away. Again, there were student leaders who ran these different, what we called round tables, even though they were at rectangular tables, some of them, but it went over all sorts of things as far as like class council, homecoming, meeting with their different assistant principals. So again, those student leaders took charge, they ran this, the freshmen were able to get to know a little bit more about this building as they transitioned from table to table to table. And those, like I said, we had amazing counselors here, a lot of teachers were here as well to help the students feel acclimated to this building. So it really was awesome to watch, and they had to deal with my annoying whistle, at least in my cafeteria, to help them transition to the different tables. I found that fun. And again, this just kind of goes through some of the other things that we did at the round tables so that you have a better understanding of what your son or daughter went through this morning, which was, again, really nice. Hopefully they came home feeling a little bit more comfortable with this school, with this building, maybe some familiar faces that they'll see, whether they're teachers or other students. So I was really excited to see how that all went down and how the student leaders really took charge and how the freshmen, honestly, I've worked with middle schoolers, I've worked with, freshmen for the last 4 years. They were amazing. They really were, feeding into it. They were well behaved. They were very respectful. So I just want to say kudos to you as parents because you have some awesome kiddos. So it really was such an outstanding morning. Yep, so again, if they also were able to, they got their schedules, which is also on Handprints campus. They should have come home with a hard copy, but if they might have lost that, it's still on Handprints campus for them. And they were able to find their lockers. Again, if they weren't able to do any of this today after they picked up their laptops, no worries, they can come in tomorrow to kind of take a tour of the building. If they can't pick up their laptops before school starts, that's one of the first things you get them set up with on opening day. So no worries there, they will get all of that as well. So this just kind of shows you other days that they can come in and get set up if they want to. All right, and so I think Mr. McKee is going to introduce Mr. Scott Fish. So thank you, everybody. I look forward to working with your son or daughter this year. And if you need anything, please don't feel free. Please feel free to reach out with anything. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erin and Natalie, very much. And again, I'm remiss. I lost, as I was doing the tours, I have my script that I normally would read off of, and I lost it somewhere on my travels. And when I don't have my script, I forget to do certain things. So the other person I didn't introduce yet for part of the administrative team is Amy Sullivan. So Amy, do you want to stand up? So Amy is our 11th grade assistant principal and also did an incredible job today in organizing freshman orientation along with Natalie. Just did a fantastic job. So really thank you for all your efforts, Amy. Now my pleasure to introduce Scott Fish. Scott I've known since I booed him when he was at Geneseo playing basketball and I was at the U of R in the stands and he would always be killing the U of R basketball team. So I've known him a long time. He comes in and speaks to our students the last 13, 14 years. He owns the Jostens that works with us for our cap and gowns, for our diplomas. And also the head basketball coach at Fairport, works with the national basketball team, has some incredible stories. But what he focuses on for us with our students is really social media and being a good person and using social media as a positive and not as a negative. And he's done an incredible job with our students over the years with that message. He volunteers his time to come in here and speak with our kiddos and to be here tonight as well. So I really thank Scott for all of his efforts, and let's give him a round of applause.
That's how I kick it off today. Kids already respond to that, which I love. I think first and foremost, the thing that stood out to me when I came in here today was just, it was so nice to have the energy and the personality of the kids still in the halls. Like, to me, it made this school come alive today. And that was so cool to be a part of, because last year it's been a challenge for everybody, including myself. And so that really stood out to me, and I loved having the kids here today and felt honored to be a part of it. As I put together the presentation, I kicked it off today with a little bit of fun, going through kids' toys and things they get into. And as I did it, I saw that, well, they had a much bigger, different experience than us as our generation. And so I started to see that a little bit. So I figured I'd share. So, like, they driving things like this when we had this. They had Fortnite, right? Because we had Simon, we had a toy with 4 buttons. I mean, come on, right? They had Elmo, we had Smurfs. They had Minecraft, we had Pac-Man. They had Despicable Me. We had the 8-ball. Oh, yes, the 8-ball. They had Wildcats, great show. We had the Jetsons. They had the iPhones. We had Merlin. That's a real one right out there. And the Teletubbies are something that I had nightmares over. If you look at them, they're kind of messed up. But then I look back at what we had, and we had Captain Kangaroo, and that's not much better. And then I look at my own picture, and that's not much better. So we'll move on from that. I've been blessed to do a couple of things, but we kicked off today with why I got interested in social media, and I'm going to share it with you. I'm driving in my car, and the phone rings. And I answered, it's college coach, recruiting 2 of my players. Coach Fitch, just wanted to let you know, I saw 2 of your players play, man, they were impressive. I said, oh, thank you so much. I think both can play to help you out. Yeah, Coach Fitch, we talked to both of them afterwards, they seem like fine young men. I said, oh, thank you. One kid, since he's been 8 years old, I've known he's a great kid. The other kid in junior high, he made choices I didn't agree with. I didn't think I would coach him, to be honest with you, but he's come a long way. I think both are good kids now. Coach Fitch, I just wanted to tell you, your kids always do well in college, and we respect that. But we're not going to recruit Brian anymore. And the reason is because we go back now and check out the kid's social media. He doesn't represent what we want in the university. And I said, whoa. You said you saw him play, you talked to him. This is a kid I know since he's 8 years old, but this kid, I'm from our reputation, you got to recruit him. Coach Fitch, we really respect you, but we're not going to recruit him. I went home that night and I was crushed. To have kids have an opportunity to rip before you set foot on campus somewhere was killing me. I had dinner with my family. I went to bed that night. I couldn't get off my bed. I looked at the clock, it's 2 a.m. I'm like, I gotta sit this kid down. It's so bad they won't recruit him. I go down, I didn't know how to look anything up, right? So I just Googled the kid's name and Twitter, and it popped right up. And I could see everything he had. And it wasn't the kid I knew at all. I'm like, if this kid has this, what's everybody else got? I had 100 kids in camp the next day. I stayed up all night, Google kid's name. I looked at every kid I had in camp. 4 or 5 kids that I would form a reputation on. They just had embarrassing stuff on there, things that I just know they weren't proud of. So I went into camp the next day, I put a lock on the balls, and I sat them down, and I read their social media tool. Like, I wanted them to feel their social media. And so I did the same thing to your kids today. I told that story, and then I told them I got a class list of all the freshmen, and I was going to show pictures and videos and everything that I found on social media last night. As you can imagine, there was a lot of talking and chirping going on, a lot of nervousness. But the reason I share that story with you is because we made them feel the social media today. And I think the biggest thing as a parent we can do with social media is to talk. We got to talk to our kids about it so they know what your expectations are. You don't have to be a social media expert. Like, you can share what you feel. And the more you talk about it, the more you keep bringing it up, the more impact you'll have on your child with it. And as we know, social media is being used the rest of their lives. I've been blessed to coach a number of kids, and ones I say a Stewart who just got drafted. All his social media, since he started, was pulled up by these NBA teams. And we have no idea what profession we're going to go into at this point, these kids, right? So we've got to make sure we're covered. So we shared that today. A couple of things that I want to hit. We hit today, we hit sexting. We hit how social media that disappears doesn't really disappear. We talked about cyberbullying. We talked about how those posts matter and how that impacts other kids. We talked about how the interact impacts other kids. We talked about trying to make a positive impact on everybody and how they're creating their brand. It was not a bash social media session. It was a, hey, let's use it the right way that we can make a huge impact on ourselves. We did a lot of quizzes, which I'm going to go quickly through. As parents, I think the important thing is to stay connected. Continue to talk face to face. I've talked to a couple parents that I coach. I coach their kids and they've lost that connection. They text their kids more than they talk to them face to face. Like, we've got to keep that face to face connection. Have a social media and a phone plan. I'm not here to tell you what that is. I think you got to find where your comfort level is. But you got to have a plan, and the kids got to know it. Your phone and social media is kind of like a drug. And so we got to be careful that we're using it the right way. It can be a very positive tool, but it can also take us over a little bit, especially going through COVID like we just did. Suicide is one thing that I've dealt with personally with a couple of players. And I think as a parent, because my kids are 13 and 11, it's one of the things that I really fear the most because I've seen it and what it does to a community. And so I just wanted to share real quick that I think it's real. But again, I think the more times that you have conversations with your kid and they can share and express themselves, I think we're doing a great, we're bringing great value to our kids if they can do that. So those conversations I think are extremely important. And you have amazing tools at this school. I mean, I don't go to every school I'm talking at the beginning. This is who I respect a great deal. The people here are great. They're willing to help. They want to help. So use them. There's such good resources here. A couple of parent thoughts just at the end. Understanding the impact of your social media on your kid as well. I've seen a number of cases where the parent social media actually makes a kid transfer because their social media impacted their kid so strongly. So just be aware that your social media can impact your kid. And then I think it takes a community to raise a child. And if you see something wrong or you see a kid in trouble, please reach out to the school. Let them be the ones that call the parents if you don't feel comfortable, but let's help that kid as much as we can. The COVID challenges, we've all dealt with them. I think the one thing I want to bring is the awkward state of the fist pump handshake, like I'm done. I've had enough awkward welcomes. But I think there's a lot of positives that we did bring too, right? Like family time and slowing life down for us. And hopefully we can keep those positives going. We'll talk about that today with your kids. Embrace the ride. It goes fast. You got reunions coming, you got graduation in 4 years. I know we don't want to think about that yet, but it's crazy how fast it goes, so embrace it. Since it puts you to a special place, I felt very honored to be a part of it with your kids today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott. And again, the message just resonates with our students, and again ties into one of the pieces that Scott shares with the kids as well. It's just the importance of being a good person and treating each other with respect, and what a simple smile can do. And that's something that we really try to reinforce with our kids as well. Just that kindness to each other. And I think overall, our kids just do an incredible job with it. I truly do. So it's my pleasure now to be able to introduce our counselors for the 9th grade, a wonderful group that they've been here longer than I have. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but very, very experienced. We are, I mean it so sincerely. Our other 2 counselors are fantastic. I would put our counseling department against any in New York State or the country. It's the dedication, the expertise, the knowledge is really unmatched. So with that, I would like to introduce Mrs. Kerway, Mrs. Pelosi, and Mrs. Di Natale, who again will be working with the class of 2025.
So nice to see everyone. We had a great time visiting with your children today. My name is Joanne Kerway. I have actually letters A through K. I'm Dr. Judy Talley, and I actually am more specialized in my caseload. I have the academy students, I have the 12-1 students, and I have anyone who's got even one class in the 15-1 program. So feel free to reach out if you have questions about that too, or maybe confused about who the counselor is.
I'm Dr. Lucy, I'm one of the counselors, and I have letters L through Z. So we're super excited to see all the kids today. I think someone said the building felt alive today, and I definitely felt that way when the kids arrived. So one of the things is we'll follow the children through high school. So I see some of the kids today, the journey starts today, and then we see them off, right before they walk across the stage and graduate. So we will stay with your children for those 4 years and we'll get to know each other. Just real quick at the counseling office, we talked to the kids today just about their schedules, their classes, and helping them adjust to the high school and reassure them that they're not going to get lost and forever. And if they get lost, what to do and how to get support. So we are available to students. We want them to come see us for a variety of reasons, whether that's they're struggling in classes, they're struggling socially and adjusting. And we know that this year is a transition for kids, whether they were remote last year. I think we all feel that with, our own children and our children here. So we understand that, this year is going to be unique, but also very exciting. So we talk to the kids that, they're more than welcome to message us through Schoology. That's kind of a great way for kids to ask us questions and we can get back to them quickly. We're also going to share a link with them where they can schedule an appointment through our bookings app, so they don't have to actually come to the counseling office to make that appointment. They can do that and then, come for the meeting time. And also, if they know something is urgent, they're always more than welcome to come down. And if one of us, if their counselor is available, like Mr. McKee said, we've been for a long time together, we trust each other, that, if they need someone, we'll make sure that they get that support. But please reach out to me if you have questions, let us know. Cannot wait to see them next week, so they can get settled into their schedules. And feel good about their transition to high school.
Yes, definitely. Please reach out, call, email, whatever works.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so I need these shoes. I really never thought about it, but Jocelyn just mentioned literally for graduation. Our counselors are right next to the stage, helping to line up the seniors before they cross the stage. And it really is, that is pretty neat. Again, they work for them with them for all 4 years, and then they're the last people to wish them good luck as they cross the stage as graduates. So it's pretty neat. And again, feel very fortunate to have all of our counselors with us. So I just want to spend a few minutes. I've learned in feedback from parents that this can be overwhelming. And typically, once we get through the first 2 days of school, everybody is good with the schedule. Just give me 1 second to flip to my notes. I apologize. But I wanted to take a minute to explain what the schedule looks like here at the high school. So it's different than obviously than what we have at Cosgrove. We have 4 blocks of time that the kids will transition throughout the day. You can see there the length of time for each block. This schedule, as I was telling the students today, is a little bit different than what we would normally run. We usually have an advisement period between first and second block, which is sort of like flex time at the middle school, where kids can get extra help, make up a test. We had to take that time away to create a 4th lunch, which has been great because the 4th lunch allows us to space our students out, to make sure they're at least 6 feet apart, that they don't have to have assigned seats at this point. because they're 6 feet apart, and we can cohort them by grade level. So that schedule I told the kids is gonna look different, hopefully halfway through the year, that we're able to go back to our normal schedule. But if not, certainly when they're sophomores. We do have activity period, so I want to reinforce that. That's time where kids can stay after school for extra help. Teachers are here, and we will have activity buses to take students home. So there will be that opportunity for extra help during activity period for our students. So this is where it can start to look a little bit confusing. Again, I won't spend a lot of time on this. In a few weeks, your son or daughter will explain it to you. But really, that biggest block is showing how we've done our lunches and how we've added that fourth lunch. So third block, if they have like first lunch, they will have lunch right after second block, and then they will go to their third block class for the rest of that block. The students in the middle will report to their class, have class for 40 minutes, go to lunch, and then come back to that class and finish it off. And it works that way. And we find, honestly, I taught in that system. For a lot of kids, it's nice where they work for 40 minutes, they get a break, have lunch, and then they come back and finish up the class. Try to keep PE away from that, obviously, where they're either first lunch or last lunch, so we don't interrupt the physical activity that's taking place. And then finally, the schedule. At the high school, we're on a 4-day rotation. So you'll hear A, B, C, and D are our days. So on Wednesday, when our students start on the first day, it's going to be A day. And they are following their A-day schedule. They're going to their first class on A-day. Typically, the classes meet twice every 4 days. So the example there you can see with algebra, with ELA, with the elective, those are meeting every other day on a 4-day cycle. The only exception really to that is PE, which meets once out of every 4 days. And then our Regents level science classes that have a Regents exam with them, because they have a lab. So they will meet 3 out of 4 days, and then typically the PE is opposite that one day that they don't have science. So again, what I emphasize with kids, they will have this down in a week if they don't already have it down now. As I met with each group of kids in our little small breakout sessions, I asked, how nervous they were about their schedule, if they had questions, and the vast majority just said, no, and that was just nice. So I think overall they're okay, but again, we will be here throughout this transition as we start the school year. We'll have teachers in the hallways helping kids get to where they need to be. Kids will not be marked off or in trouble for being a few minutes late. We will support them 100%. So again, please reinforce that with your son or daughter, not to be nervous about the first day of school, the first week of school. If I really want to freak you out, I can show you this schedule. This shows different semesters. Again, you don't really have to look at it, but this might be something you see from your son or daughter, but conceptually, you just have to remember we're on a 4-day rotation. A, B, C, and D day, and then it repeats. Okay. So at this point, it's really my honor again to be able to introduce the class advisors for the class of 2025. Ms. McLean, Mrs. Buckner, they were the class advisors for our senior class last year. They have volunteered to take over the freshman class for the next 4 years. And I could not be more thrilled. It was incredible what they did with our seniors, all 4 years that they had them, and the time and the effort that they put into it, just absolutely incredible. And I mean, I can't thank them enough for what they did for our school and especially for our seniors. So with that, I will turn it over to them.
Good evening, everyone. Unfortunately, Mrs. McLean was not able to be here tonight.
But I know she's just as excited as I am to work with your children over the next 4 years. This is actually my third round. I was the class advisor for 2017 and 2021 and now 2025. I know Mr. McCabe also kind of joked about people hiring graduates and people moving back here. Both of our husbands are graduates. They graduated together and we both now live in Spencerport. I have an 8th grader and a 4th grader in the district, and she has elementary school children in the district. I just wanted to talk to you briefly about some of the things that we will be doing over the next 4 years, really, and the help that we'll need with some fundraising and things like that. There we go. So basically, we're in charge of the events that are like specific for the class of 2025 and also homecoming. So they elected officers in the spring last year. They will be introduced to them over the next few weeks at school. And we've already sent out information about our first fundraiser. Hopefully you got that about the apparel. And we'll be having another one coming up too. But what we need fundraising for are all of these amazing events that we have planned for the next 4 years for your children. This year is not a huge one in terms of what we will be doing, mostly just homecoming and some fundraisers. But after that, we have dances that we will be planning, the sophomore dinner dance, the junior prom and the senior ball. And then senior year, we have a lot of other events too that they will be able to participate in as well. Homecoming each of those years. Senior years, they have things like 100 days, obviously graduation, there's a senior banquet, lots of fun activities that we will be planning for your children to help make these 4 years as memorable and fun and exciting as we possibly can. So I know fundraising is not everybody's favorite thing. It's not my favorite thing, but the more that we're able to fundraise, the more we'll be able to do with your children to make these years as fun as possible. We do have a Twitter and a Instagram page that you can follow. I will make sure, it got sent out in the letter that we sent home, so look for that there. Follow us there if you have any information, need any information about upcoming events. Feel free to reach out to either Mrs. McLean or myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. And Christina is one of our science teachers, and something to be thinking about as your child goes through, and it's typically junior, senior year. She teaches an incredible forensics class for us that we added a few years ago through Syracuse University. Very popular class, and it's just something to think about. Does an incredible job for us. So now I am going to introduce Miss Kelly White, one of our school nurses, who's been with us, how many years now, Kelly?
This is my 5th school year.
My goodness, 5 years. Again, I know I keep saying that they're incredible people, but they truly are. I feel blessed to be able to work with this staff. And Kelly just does a wonderful job with your son or daughter, and we'll take very, very good care of them. We do have another nurse on staff, so we always have 2 nurses here. And they just make a great team along with the aide that works in the nurse's office as well. So I'll turn it over to you, Kelly.
Hi, everyone. As Mr. McCabe said, my name is Kelly White. I am the nurse for 9th and 11th grade. I will also follow your sons and daughters all the way through until they graduate. So I'll be with them every single year. Basically, this year, we have a lot going on with COVID, of course, still. If anybody has any questions, if it comes to that, please reach out. I know it can be very confusing. It can be frustrating and nerve-wracking, but we will work through it with you guys, whatever we need to do. So please just reach out with any questions or concerns. Also, something that we're doing this year is we're collecting physicals for every single grade, 9 through 12. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we didn't, well, fortunately, unfortunately, we didn't collect physicals last year. So now we have to make up for it this year. So please, if you haven't already, turn those into us as soon as possible. And if you have an appointment coming up, obviously, whenever it's complete, feel free to send it in. But yeah, it was a really good feeling to see all the kids here this morning, see some of their faces. And, you know, if you guys have any medical concerns, please reach out, please let me know. We are happy to work with you and with your child. And we work really close with the counselors and administrators to make sure that your child gets what they need medically while they're here, and socially and emotionally as well. So please reach out again, any concerns. Mrs. Goldstone, who's the other nurse, is a great resource as well. And Mrs. Coco, who's the health aide, she's amazing. So we're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, very much. Before I introduce our final guests for the evening and speakers, just another logistical piece that comes up a lot, just in terms of the pickup, drop off for school. So obviously, every child in Spencerport has a bus. If they want to take the bus, they can take the bus. I, from a personal standpoint, encourage that. It's been good for my daughter to take the bus. She asked me to drive her to school, and I'm saying, no, take the bus. And I think that's good for her. But if you want to drop off, pick up, whatever, that's absolutely fine. And so all we ask with this is that they can be picked up after school, right in the front loop, or they can be picked up, I was telling my group on tour, in the east parking lot. It's kind of a secret area where there really is no crowd. It's quick, it's easy to pick them up. After 2:20, when the buses leave, you can also pick them up at the back of the school at the Ranger entrance, the Blue Arches. So there's lots of options. I think the biggest thing I would emphasize with parents is if your kiddos can wait 5 minutes, you don't have to pick them up right at 2:10, especially on a nice day. They can wait outside to 2:15, 2:20. You pick them up and the traffic has vanished and you don't have the frustration of waiting in line. Drop off right in the front loop. I'm going to try to be out there every morning. You'll probably see me there. If you do drop off, real simple, we just ask people to pull up as far as possible in the loop to let their student or let their child out, as simple as that. So, welcome to the next step. So I'm going to introduce right now Erin Hassel and Kate Zobku. Erin works as in our family support center, does an incredible job working. We are blessed to have her as a resource for our students and our families. And then Kate joined us a few years ago, and she's our drug and alcohol counselor here in Spencerport. I like to claim her for the high school, but technically she works K-12 with all our prevention activities. I'll just say one thing about that. So once somebody asked me, well, why do you have a drug and alcohol counselor? Do you have a drug problem with Spencerport High School? My response to that, having been in this job for the amount of time I have, was yes, we do. Because if we have one student that's abusing drugs, that's a problem. And the bigger problem is if you pretend that it's not there. And so I've learned over time, you know, the importance of facing that issue head on. We are no different than any other high school, Aquinas, McQuaid, Mercy, Fairport, whatever. It's the exact same. But we have these resources to be able to address those issues that may come up head on. One of my biggest fears as a parent is drug and alcohol abuse. But I think, again, like Scott talked about with social media, the biggest thing we can do with our kiddos is communicate and have that conversation with them to make sure we know what they're doing and they know what our expectations are and that we love them. So sorry to go on about that, but I'm going to turn it over to Erin and Kate, and they will go from there.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. You've been sitting for almost an hour, so I promise I'm going to have you actually stand in a quick second. But Kate and I just wanted to take some time just to talk to you about the next step of being with your child going through high school. And so can I have those of you who are new, having a new son or daughter to the high school, if you could stand up and then you can stretch. So stand if you're new to the high school, okay? Thank you. Okay, welcome. Welcome to the high school. And you can take a seat. And then can I have those of you who are seasoned parents of the high school, can you stand, please? Okay, those of you who are new, look at those of you, of those who are standing, because that's our support group right there. Right? They know exactly, I've already been through it. I mean, all of our children are a little different. I know for me, when I started here, this is my 13th year. Hard to believe. My son started kindergarten when I first started here, and now he's a senior. It just blows my mind how fast things go. And when I think about your son and daughter, their last full year of school was when they were in 6th grade. Wow, and remember what they look like in 6th grade versus what they look like now, right? Huge change for many of them. So just in terms of thinking about where they're at. So again, that's what we're going to be focusing on for the next couple of minutes. So a time of change, right? I was just alluding to that. It's just thinking about where they were their last full year of school versus now as they're entering their high school year or their freshman year. So you might have already noticed this, that when you think about their change, that you're not the center of their world. They are, right? Friends first, family second. And I think for some of this, we have to be mindful of the pandemic too, because I think the pandemic has had a huge impact on a lot of this development as well. What happened to my body? And again, the pandemic might have had an impact a little bit, because typically what you see as kids are changing and developing, they're constantly in the shower, right? Constantly putting spray and deodorant, right? There's lots of smells coming out. Since they've been home for quite a while, they might not be showering as much. I don't know if you're seeing that at home, or maybe it's just my home, I don't know. But in terms of the pandemic, right? They're just staying in the room more than they were before. Don't touch my stuff, that's bad, right? You move something, you touch something. Social media, and thank goodness for social media during this pandemic for them. The hard part is, and I don't know if you're seeing this with your own children, that they're lonely too, that they have social media, yes, they're making connections, but they're not getting the same sort of response or their body response, because we're human beings. We need to be in front of everyone. We need to be touched. We need to see people's whole faces. And this pandemic has really had an impact on our children and us adults too, feeling connected to others. And so social media, again, thank goodness we had it, especially during this time, but for a lot of our kids, they're lonely. And then everything counts now, and I think even more so than before, I would say. I am hearing that a lot in my counseling practice, that I'm missing out on dating, I'm missing out on getting a job, I'm missing out on clubs and activities. I'm just thinking about the freshmen last year, some of the things that they were bringing up. And it's just so hard because we're on a pause. But in terms of that pressure and that fear of missing out, but they're not alone. And I think that's the tricky part, is kids are just really not talking about that, but we need to talk about it. Can I see a show of hands? How many of you have a child that has maybe related to some of this? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, I see almost every hand up. Okay, yes, so you're definitely not alone. And again, when I think about the uncertain times and stress, this pandemic and social injustices and political chaos, I can't imagine going into high school during this day and age. I can't imagine. That's what I was saying to your kids today when I was doing the roundtables, that I'm in awe of them and their strength and the resiliency to get through and survive this experience, that they're still having fun, that they're still willing to try out on different things. And how many of them play sports right now, right? It's pretty amazing. And coming to school with a mask on, I don't know about any of you, but when I was their age, there was no way. I don't know how I would have survived it being home with my brother. But in terms of what our kids are, because of resilience. And I think that's the tricky part of uncertain times and stress, that some of our kids have done really well, like Mr. McCabe was saying, in terms of the boats, right? Some of them had battleships and some of them had rowboats, and still do. So just being mindful and aware, and even aware of your own self and how you're feeling during this time, because we're all grieving. we're all grieving the life as we knew it before, the life without having to come here with wearing a mask, right? That I can't walk up and down the aisles and kind of like what Mr. McCabe said, hand you the microphone, right? I can't do that. So and then those celebrations. And thank goodness they were able to do a lot of it last year. I know it was compact, it was a little different, but we were able to do more. And just having them back here and the energy in this building was amazing. That I know that it's with mixed emotion too, because this is a transition for them and this is a new building, it's a big building. But I kept telling them, like, you all are experts at Cosgrove. I still go down the wrong hallway at Cosgrove. It's just, I'm so confused. This is my 13th year again. Yeah, and they're like experts. I'm like, you can do a blindfolded. So you will master this building because it's just a big square, but maybe one little arm versus all those arms at Cosgrove. So thinking about having conversations with your child. So just keep talking just differently and checking in with them as they're talking to you. Do you need my help to help solve, or are you just wanting me to listen? And asking questions, being curious. And this is, right now with the news and social media and again, everything that's happening out there in the world, just like allowing them to share their ideas and just being mindful of your judgment and and certainly our job is for guiding as well, but just having that open dialogue. I think our kids, it is so important because things are changing constantly, right? Are we going to go back to school? We're not going to go back to school, kind of like last year. That families is the most important part for our children, is that we're the strong, constant presence in their life. That even though everything else is changing, your family unit is not. That you are always going to be there. You love and support them and help guide them. So things to consider. And this really came back, and I know it's kind of really quickly. What is my child's stress level? When I think about last year and the amount of calls I got at the Family Support Center, it was a lot about stress. We need stress or we would never get off the couch. It's just we need to have a balance. And what coping skills has your child developed through all of this? What do they still need to work on? Where are they able to cope with stress? Is my child lonely? That's another big piece that I was hearing a lot last year and even over the summer, is that loneliness. That yes, they're connected, but they're still feeling a little bit, they're disconnected in the sense of not being able to be with their friends. And can they see their friends? And maybe their friends have changed. And that is going to happen too. And the ebb and flow. Do I know who my son and daughter's friends are? And I think that's even trickier for this generation, because a lot of it is through their devices. I call it their third arms, because it's always attached to them. And then do we know their friends' parents? Yeah, I think that's even trickier for us parents right now because of their third arm. Is my child aware? And this is another thing. Is my child aware of their personal strengths and how much has this pandemic impacted them to seeing them? So I think about our music students, that it's been tricky trying to play an instrument or singing. And so they might not feel like they're strong in their craft because of this pandemic, or our athletes, or our students that love to do kind deeds. We've been told to stay away, stay away. So there's been a disconnect for a lot of our kids to feel their strengths. So having those open conversations with them is so crucial, because I think that's the part that we're seeing in terms of higher levels of depression, sadness, anxiety. A lot of it has to do with they're not able to have those reminders or those experiences of these strengths. And I'm hoping now that we can have these clubs and activities back, that we're going to see, they're going to be able to get in touch with that again. How much does my child move their body? I've been hearing like sitting is a new way of smoking because it has such a huge impact that we're not moving. And certainly, no offense to what we did last year in terms of synchronous learning, but they were staying in front of a screen for 6 hours, 8 hours, and they had homework, or that was their gaming, that was their way of communicating with their friends, but they were still sitting. And so it is important, and then that's what I kept saying last year, take a break, take a passing time in between your classes, that you need to move your body. How are you going to address the issue of homework, substance abuse, a reasonable curfew now that hopefully they're able to get out more? Again, you know, with pandemic, it's been tricky. Computer and gaming time, it's so tricky because everything is through devices and we need to make sure we're moving. Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, TikTok, Discord, there's more and more every year, right? Of just way in which our kids are communicating with each other. Responsibilities, words at home, and am I connected to the appropriate people at school? So just some, I don't want to say normal, but normal is a setting on a dryer, but typical difficult behaviors. And remember when you were a teenager, right? We were moody, right? We're seeing moodiness. That is typical. Sometimes it's hard, and I think this pandemic, we've been with our kids a lot more maybe than we used to. And thank goodness in many ways, and sometimes it's difficult because we're having a bad day and then their moodiness. Certainly less attention and affection towards us parents, they're extremely self-involved, having clear conflicts, worries and stress about relationships, testing limits, having identities, kind of searching, exploring. And I think now with everything on the media of just, you know, what side are you on and everything, there's just so much challenge right now. Are they experimenting with substances, or are they having preoccupation with sex? So I think in terms of these are all difficult behaviors. And so ways to cope with stress, planning ahead. Again, we all need stress because if we didn't, we would never get off the couch. But just being aware of your inner critic, right? It's like, I see the inner critic, that part of you that's doubting everything, right? And that adds to our stress. And so breaking problems apart, doing pros and cons of both ways. And sometimes we need to cut out some of the toxicity. So it's maybe limiting some of that social media or watching the news because it is so toxic. And so, but some things you can't avoid, like taking a test, you have to take a test, like you can't avoid it. But you can remind yourself, I go to school every day, I study, I do my homework, I stay after, right? So those, rather than the inner critic saying, you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail. So reminding yourself of those positive things that you do. All right, getting enough sleep, getting enough food, right? Moving your body, having joy and laughter, slowing your body down by breathing. And then if possible, seeking help. So I'm going to turn this over to Kate.
All right, hi everybody. So I'm Kate Zabku. I am the district's drug and alcohol counselor. Like Mr. McCabe said, this is my 5th year with the district. And I don't know how to, okay. This is my 5th year with the district. And it's just been such a pleasure to be here because this is such a needed position, unfortunately. So our kids are, you know, adolescence is a time of drug and alcohol experimentation is a normal part of adolescence, which no parent wants to hear. And I certainly do not encourage any kids to experiment with anything. However, it does typically happen. So we just need to continuously talk to our kids about how to make good choices. We have to model healthy behavior. We have to have those constant conversations with them. And the conversations always change based on age. I've got 2 bookend kids right now. I've got a kid starting kindergarten and a kid starting 9th grade. And the way that those conversations about drug and alcohol use has shifted from the kindergartner of just say no to drugs, and he's like, okay, got it, to the 9th grader who's singing like that Justin Bieber Peaches song the other day about I buy my marijuana in California. I was like, excuse me, you buy what, where? And, you know, not realizing that this is, you know, part of pop culture and things that get talked about a lot now, and having to figure out how to have those conversations with our kids. So Aaron talked about the stuff that is normal, you know, that dryer setting piece of things that we see with adolescents, but these are some things that are actual cries for help. So if you're starting to see any of these things with your children, know that we are here to discuss them with you. If you need help, if you're noticing any of these things in your home, please reach out to us. Aaron is here in the Family Support Center all the time. My office is located here in the high school, even though I am a district-wide employee. So if you have any of these issues going on and you just need to talk it out with one of us, we're here for you guys as well. If you want your student to set up a meeting with us, we're here for that as well. Just let him know where our offices. I talked to your kids this morning about how anything said in my office stays in my office. Kids can very discreetly come down and talk to me. It's very confidential. So if any of these things are going on, letting your kids know that it's okay to ask for help. So many of these cries for help were exacerbated by COVID and everything that's going on. So any of this stuff, if you're noticing it in your household, just reach out and chat with us. So one of the bigger things, if you guys do come to open house night, I always like to have a little show and tell. Anytime a student may or may not be caught with an item that needs to be confiscated here at the high school, I've kind of kept it. So I like to keep parents up on what newest paraphernalia looks like. So obviously vaping is the biggest substance that we see here in the high school. And there's different, I always ask a kid when they say that they're vaping, I say, what are you vaping? And they always kind of look at me like I have 3 heads, but there's always different substances that kids are vaping, nicotine, marijuana, stuff like that. So right now, everybody was always talking about jewels for a long time. Jewels are not trendy anymore. They're not the thing. We're not really seeing them here at school. Hides are the new big trendy vaping device that students are seeing. That's the picture on the top left up there. They're disposable vape devices. So the thing that the kids like about them is they can use them and just throw them away. And they're not all that expensive. They're like $15 for one of them. So kids are able to get their hands on them pretty easily, unfortunately. But my biggest advice to parents is to educate yourself on what the new trends are so that if you start seeing paraphernalia around your house or in your kid's backpack, you know what you're looking for. So like I said, usually on open house, I usually have a table that only parents are allowed to see. I don't let kids see my traveling road show. But if anybody would like to see me during open house, I will have some substances you can look at just to educate yourself on what the current trends are. So if you do have any concerns, you can talk with your kids about them. All right, and then this is where we'll close up, is just reminding yourself that your children are an amazing gift, a gift that we are so excited to be able to share, that you're sharing them with us this year. And just remind yourself that you are a better parent than you think. You know, if you're sitting here in front of us today, you're investing in your child, you're interested in their education, you're interested in them becoming, you know, a good part of our community and our society, and we're so thankful to have you here with us. So thank you.
So again, I'm hoping from tonight that you see our involvement or our commitment to your child is not just academics. I really haven't focused on academics really that much at all. When I first started as principal, I would be going through advanced designation, all the AP courses we offered, you know, all the different pieces, things that we can do. And there's a place for that. There certainly is. We do that when we do scheduling night. We go through that level of detail with the academic component. And we are very, very proud of our students and how they perform academically. We have kids go to Princeton, MIT, and we have kids graduate from Omoco, go right into the trades as licensed welders, go right into the military. Incredible accomplishments of our students in terms of being graduates of Spencerport High School. But what I like to focus on tonight, again, as I've emphasized, is just that connection with your child and how we're here to support them, not just academically, but socially, emotionally. And so what I hope you take away from tonight is that we are here to help. So there is no question, there is no concern that is too small, or sometimes people say, well, this is a silly question. No, it's not. Reach out to us because we want to be here to help support your child be successful to the greatest extent possible to their fullest potential. So you'll see that that's our QR code. Those are my young assistant principals that get me into the 21st century. Normally I'd be passing out paper for survey results, but please feel free. As I said, we want questions or we want comments, we want feedback on what we can do better to reach out to parents and guardians. So that's it for our formal presentation. I know we have one question from one of our viewers on the webcam. And I don't know if anybody, I'll start with the audience, if there's any questions that people think are good for the group. I will hang out, as will the counselors, if there's individual questions that you might have. But is there any question that anybody has they'd like to ask that they think might be good for the entire group? Yes, please.
Question, but I think it's useful for parents to hear. It's about confidentiality between the counselors and the students.
Yes.
And I was asking her, I don't have this problem, but it's good to know that how do parents become proactive since we have strict confidentiality in terms of the
Great, and I'll just have her repeat that question that you just asked, make sure everybody heard it, and I'll let Kate go from there.
Sure. So I mentioned, that students, what's said in my office stays in my office, and we're big on confidentiality. And she said, how would parents know if there was a problem? So the way things work in my office is I let the kids know that they can tell me anything, but if something does need to be taken outside of the office, I tell them first who I'm going to tell, and I tell them how I'm going to do that. So I do talk to parents, if there really is a concern that parents need to be identified, be shared with them, it absolutely gets shared with them. And I usually try to work it so that the kid and I tell the parent together. So I try to make it kind of collaborative. Parents will absolutely, and I know that that's mostly how a lot of the ladies in our office in the council department, they're all shaking their heads right now, yes. That's usually how a lot of the ladies and I work together, where we listen to the kids first, we share the concern, and then we usually educate the kids on why we have to tell the parents and how to bring the parents in a really collaborative manner.
Great. Thank you, Kate. Any other questions for the good of the group? Amy, did we have a question?
I believe it was answered. It was about the counselors moving up with.
Okay.
Students, so we covered that one. That was awesome.
Great, thank you, Amy. So that is another great piece that we have in place here, is that your assistant principal, your counselors, and your nurse follow the kids for all 4 years. And so there's really a great opportunity to build really solid relationships, lasting relationships with the kids, which is one of the most powerful things about being in education as they grow into adults. You see them 10 years later and they're successful and have their own family. Any other questions? Okay. I really appreciate everybody being with us tonight. I hope everybody has a good evening. Everybody watching on TV, thank you for being with us. And looking forward to a great start of the school year. Thank you very much.